There are days in football when the drama off the pitch becomes just as entertaining as what happens during the 90 minutes. And this week delivered exactly that. While the mood around Celtic FC turned sour after a frustrating defeat, the reaction that followed quickly took on a life of its own. Supporters were angry, phone lines were buzzing, and one particularly explosive radio rant ended up spreading everywhere among Scottish football fans. It was one of those moments that perfectly captures how emotional football can be in Scotland, where results are never just results, and every performance feels like it carries the weight of history. The frustration was not only about one match, but about a growing feeling that things are not quite right. And when that feeling builds up for weeks, it only takes one bad afternoon for everything to boil over. The defeat itself was seen by many as a performance without urgency, without creativity, and most importantly, without a real attacking presence. The criticism aimed at recruitment decisions started to grow louder, especially regarding the lack of a physical striker who could change the way the team plays in difficult matches. In Scottish football, especially away from home on difficult pitches, sometimes you need more than technical players and short passing. You need strength, direct play, and players who can win battles in the air and create chaos in the box. That was exactly the type of match where a different profile of striker could have made the difference, and the absence of that option became one of the main talking points after the game. While the spotlight was on their rivals for all the wrong reasons, the atmosphere around Rangers FC has been very different in recent weeks, especially with planning already underway for the summer transfer window. Behind the scenes, decisions are being discussed that could shape the squad for the next few seasons. And one of the most interesting situations involves a defender who arrived quietly, but is now starting to attract serious attention inside the club. When he first arrived on loan from Wolverhampton Wanderers FC, expectations were not particularly high, mainly because he was seen as a player for development rather than an immediate starter. The Scottish game can be very demanding physically and mentally, and not every player adapts quickly. In the early part of the season, adapting seemed to be exactly the challenge. The tactical system at the time required defenders to play out from the back under pressure, hold a high defensive line, and be comfortable taking risks in possession. For a young defender still learning his game, that environment can be very unforgiving. Mistakes become very visible, and confidence can drop quickly when performances are inconsistent. There were matches where his physical strength, pace, and ability in the air were very clear to see, but there were also moments where positioning and decision-making caused problems. Because of that, many people assumed his stay in Glasgow would be short and that the club would look elsewhere in the summer. However, football seasons are long and situations change quickly, especially when there is a change in tactical approach and structure. In recent matches, his performances have looked far more confident and controlled, and that improvement has not gone unnoticed. With clearer defensive organization and more protection from midfield, he has been able to focus on the basics of defending first, winning duels, reading danger early, and using his physical presence properly. When a defender starts doing the simple things well consistently, confidence grows naturally, and that confidence has been visible in his recent performances. One match in particular really caught attention, when he delivered a very solid performance across the full 90 minutes in a convincing victory that showed a different side to his game. He looked calm on the ball, aggressive in challenges, and far more vocal in organizing the defensive line. These are the kind of signs that coaches look for when deciding whether a lone player is worth keeping long-term. Talent alone is not enough at a club that expects to compete for trophies every season. Consistency, mentality, and the ability to handle pressure are just as important, and lately he has started to show those qualities much more clearly. The interesting part of this situation is not only the football side, but also the financial side. Modern football clubs are always thinking about player value, resale potential, and long-term squad building. A young, physically strong center-back with experience in different leagues can become a very valuable asset if developed properly. That is why decisions like this are never just about what a player is doing right now, but what he could become in 2 or 3 years. Clubs that succeed consistently are often the ones that identify potential early and act before a player becomes too expensive or attracts too many other clubs. Another factor that could play a big role in this situation is what happens at his parent club in England. If they face a difficult season or squad changes in the summer, several players could become available for transfer, and that could open the door for negotiations that might not have been possible before. For the player himself, regular football and competing for titles can be more attractive than sitting on the bench elsewhere, and that ambition often influences transfer decisions more than people realize. Playing in front of big crowds, in important matches, and in a team expected to win every week is something many players value highly at this stage of their careers. All of these elements together make this one of the more interesting stories to follow as the summer approaches, because it is not just about one player, but about the direction the squad is taking and the type of team that is being built for the future. Decisions like this often look small at the time, but a few seasons later they can be seen as very important moments in the development of a successful team, especially when a player grows into a key figure after arriving with very little attention or expectation. As the season moves toward its decisive period, situations like this become more important because clubs are not only thinking about the next match, but about what the squad will look like next year and the year after that. At Rangers FC, there is a clear understanding that building a strong defensive unit is the foundation for any title challenge. In Scottish football, consistency at the back often makes the difference over the course of a long season, especially in difficult away matches where style sometimes has to be sacrificed for results. That is why the discussion around whether to try to secure the defender on a permanent deal is being taken very seriously behind the scenes. One of the biggest challenges in modern football transfers is timing. If a club moves too early, they risk paying more than necessary. If they wait too long, other clubs start to notice the same player, and the price rises quickly. That is why performances in the final months of the season could be crucial for this decision. Every strong performance increases confidence inside the club that he could become a long-term option, but it also increases the risk that other teams start to show interest. This is the balance that recruitment teams are always trying to manage, and it is never as simple as fans might think from the outside. Another important element is how well a player fits into the dressing room and the mentality of the squad. At a club like Rangers, mentality is extremely important because the pressure is constant. Every match is expected to be won, every mistake is analyzed, and the atmosphere in big matches can be intense. Some players have talent but struggle with that pressure, while others grow stronger because of it. From what has been seen in recent weeks, he looks like a player who is starting to enjoy that responsibility rather than hide from it, and that is usually a very good sign for a defender. There is also the tactical side to consider. Modern defenders are expected to do much more than just defend. They need to be comfortable on the ball, able to start attacks from deep, and fast enough to recover when the team plays with a high defensive line. Scottish football is sometimes described as very physical and direct, but at the top level the tactical side of the game is becoming more and more important every season. Teams want defenders who can handle both sides of the game, the physical battles and the technical build-up play, and players who can do both are always in demand. Looking at the bigger picture, this potential transfer is also about squad planning. Over a long season with domestic competitions and European matches, depth in defense is essential. Injuries, suspensions, and fixture congestion mean that clubs cannot rely on only 2 center backs. They need 3 or 4 players who can all play at a high level without the team performance dropping. That is why lone players who prove they can handle the pressure often become permanent targets, because they already understand the league, the club, and the expectations. Meanwhile, the situation at Wolverhampton Wanderers FC could play a major role in how this story develops. English clubs often have large squads and financial pressures, especially if league positions do not go as planned. When that happens, players who are not regular starters can become available, sometimes for reasonable transfer fees compared to the English market. For a Scottish club, that can be a very good opportunity to sign a player with experience at a high level who is still young enough to improve and potentially be sold later for a profit. From the player's point of view, the decision will also be about where he feels he can develop the most. Regular football, competing for trophies, and playing in European competitions are very attractive opportunities for any young player. Sitting on the bench in a bigger league is not always better for development than playing every week in a competitive environment where every match matters. Many players have built very strong careers by becoming key players at clubs where they are trusted and given responsibility. As the summer approaches, conversations will likely become more serious, and much will depend on how the final part of the season goes. If performances remain strong and consistent, the pressure on the club to try to secure a permanent deal will grow stronger. Fans always appreciate players who show commitment, physical presence, and improvement over time, and those are exactly the qualities that supporters tend to respect the most. Football fans understand that not every player arrives as a star, but they always respect players who work, improve, and fight for the team. All of this means that the next few months could be very important not only for the player's future, but also for the defensive structure of Rangers for the next few seasons. Sometimes the most important transfers are not the biggest names or the most expensive deals, but the players who arrive quietly, develop steadily, and eventually become key figures in successful teams. Those are often the signings that in a few years people look back on and say that was very smart business, even if at the time it did not make many headlines. What also makes this situation interesting is how quickly opinions can change in football. A few months ago, many supporters were unsure if he had a future at Rangers FC, and now the conversation is completely different. That is the reality of football at this level. Confidence, form, and tactical structure can completely change how a player is perceived. When a defender feels protected by the system and understands exactly what is expected of him, performances naturally become more consistent. That consistency is often what separates a short-term loan player from someone the club sees as part of the long-term project. Another factor that could influence the decision is the age profile of the squad. Clubs are always trying to find the right balance between experienced players and younger players who can develop and increase in value over time. A young center-back who is already getting experience in big matches, playing in front of large crowds, and dealing with pressure situations is very valuable for the future. If he continues to improve, he could become not just a squad player, but a regular starter and possibly one of the defensive leaders in the coming seasons. That kind of progression is exactly what clubs hope for when they bring in young players on loan with potential. Supporters also tend to appreciate defenders who are strong in duels, aggressive in the air, and not afraid of the physical side of Scottish football. The league can be very demanding, especially in away matches where the tempo is high and the battles are constant from the first minute to the last. Players who adapt to that environment earn respect quickly, and once supporters start to trust a defender, that confidence from the stands can make a big difference in a player's performances. Playing at Ibrox with the crowd behind you is a very different experience from playing with uncertainty, and confidence often grows much faster when supporters believe in a player. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Ibrox is once again buzzing with whispers, and this time the name echoing through the stands and across the city is Cláudio Braga. While nothing has been made official just yet, strong indications suggest that Rangers have moved swiftly and decisively to secure the services of the forward in what could prove to be a bold attacking addition. Those close to the club hint that Braga's arrival has been in the works behind the scenes for some time, with negotiations carried out quietly and with intent. The striker, known for his sharp movement and eye for goal, is believed to have attracted attention from several sides, yet it is Rangers who appear to have won the race, if the murmurs are to be believed. Supporters have taken to discussing what Braga might bring to the squad. There's a sense that his style could suit the physical and fast-paced nature of Scottish football, offering something a wee bit different in the final third. Some reckon he could thrive under the pressure, while others are cautiously optimistic, waiting for confirmation before getting carried away. Inside Ibrox, the potential signing is viewed as a statement of ambition. Bringing in a forward of Braga's profile would signal intent to strengthen the attacking options and add depth where it matters most. Whether he becomes a regular starter or an impact player remains to be seen, but the excitement is building regardless. For now, it remains firmly in the realm of speculation. Still, in Glasgow, where football talk travels fast and hope travels even faster, the idea of Cláudio Braga pulling on the Rangers shirt is already enough to spark conversation, debate, and no small amount of anticipation. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.